everybody, and welcome to another Friday night edition of FFChamps After Dark. I'm your host, Jim Day, and of course, joining me, as always, is Mr. Andy Singleton and, of course, Mr. Frank Scanduro. But we'll get to them in a second. I got to tell you that we're a proud member of the Full-Time Fantasy Podcast Network. Amazing stuff, amazing stuff. We now have 18 different podcasts, so it's definitely growing big. We have over 35 hours of podcasting each and every week. You got to be involved. You got to get there. So let's go to our co-hosts and get them involved. Andy, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody. I'm back.
You're back. One week away. He had to work, folks. He has a hard job. You got to give the man that. He's a firefighter in New York City. So all the kudos for doing that very tasking job. And of course, our other co-host, Mr. Frank Scanduro, trying to stay away from the floods in New Orleans tonight.
Yeah, we should be good. This storm's dying, but hi everybody, good to see y'all. Glad to be here.
So a lot of news came up today after, not having anything to talk about for a while now. All of a sudden, a lot of stuff popped up. And of course, the biggest news everybody's talking about, Melvin Gordon threatening to hold out into the season or asking to be traded because he wants a new contract and they haven't given it to him. This is his last year. He's making under $6 million a year. He wants to get paid. And so far, looks like the Chargers are digging their heels in and not really wanting to do that big deal, sign him to that big money deal, and seems to be the way of most running backs these days. So I'll turn it over to you, Andy. What's your thoughts here? How does this affect the fantasy world?
In a lot of ways. I still can't remember that they're in Los Angeles now. I keep going every time.
Yes,
when I'm looking at depth charts, I always go for S, and I'm like, where the hell are the Chargers? And then it takes a second. But this is pretty significant news. I actually drafted Austin Eckler about 30 minutes, completely unaware of what happened. And I drafted Eckler, and then I saw he was trending, and I was like, uh-oh, what did I do? And sure enough, it was trending for, a good thing with the Melvin Gordon holdout. A lot of people say they think Eckler's role stays the same, and he wasn't really anything special when he had the opportunity. And Justin Jackson should be the guy who would fill in the first down and all that kind of stuff. I'm happy with Eckler. He's super efficient. And if it's that complimentary role, maybe he still is that complimentary role, and he just gets a few more touches. I don't think he needs a primary role to be effective. I know you asked me about Melvin Gordon, and I'm talking about Austin Eckler, but I kind of was avoiding Melvin Gordon anyway. He's in that range where it's like, I've had him before in the past, and he's been good. He wasn't bad. I traded him last year in a keeper league and got lambasted for it. People saying, how could you trade him away? And then sure enough, after that, he kind of fell off after his hot start last week. So it worked out okay. But he's that kind of tweener guy where, yeah, he's better than what you're going to get as the low-end running back one, but you don't really feel great about it. So I think this kind of helps fantasy football owners. Like, you don't have to take them in that uncomfortable range. Now, this is obviously for people not really drafting until late July and August, but we'll see what happens. I think he's foolish because I don't think there's really a market for him out there. That's the biggest problem.
Well, then let me ask you the other question real quick, follow-up. Where would you take him? Where would you be comfortable taking Gordon if you were drafting right now?
With this news, I would say no later than the third. I wouldn't go much later than the back of the second for him in a redraft league. And that might sound like shocking or whatever, but I mean, we saw this happen with Le'Veon Bell last year, and not to say that it won't happen, but I mean, that precedent's kind of been set for a guy like Melvin Gordon to say, hey, if Lev can do it, I can do it. I'm younger than he was at the same time. Maybe I can get that contract next year and just enjoy 2019. But it's a dangerous game to play. But I mean, these running backs treat their carries and their reps on the field totally different than most every other position. So it's who knows what happens here.
Frank, how about you? What's your take on this, and how do you feel about drafting Gordon now?
I mean, I'm worried that it's going to be the same thing as Le'Veon last year, where they're just not going to pay him because, just like Le'Veon, like he's had injury concerns and stuff. Did you get it? You all right?
Yeah, I think I got it.
I just I don't know, man. Like, why would you, if you're the Chargers, pay him what he wants when you have there's all those running backs coming out next year. You got two guys that they seem that they like in Jackson and in Eckler, which if I'm taking one of them, I'm going Jackson. I like Jackson more than I like Eckler.
But why? But why?
I don't know, man. Like it just when I watch Jackson run, like it's not like I love him like where he's like 4 or 5 rounds above him. But if like they're both there and I was gonna take one, I would take Jackson over Eckler. Like I don't think Eckler's horrible. Like they're both gonna split. Like I don't think this is somebody. If Gordon doesn't show up, it's not gonna be like Connor last year, where Connor's got the full workload. Because even Eckler split with Gordon last year. You know.
Hey Frank, do me one favor. Move your microphone a little bit further down towards your chin because you're popping it a lot.
Which one?
What?
You said by his chin. Which one?
Sorry, I was a little slow on the uptake there, but
the fireman who put a throwback picture from 20 years ago on Twitter when he was 40 pounds skinnier is making fat jokes.
Yeah, see, that's much better, Frank. Thank you.
I wouldn't touch him in redraft. I'll let somebody else deal with that headache. I'm very, very happy that I took Adams and Scott Fishbowl at 109 rather than take Gordon. And then in Dynasty, if he falls, like Andy said, like in the bottom of the second round, like if you're there at the turn at the 101, I would take a chance on him.
But that's exactly kind of my point. You said you were happy to take Adams over him at 109. I took Adams in the first two in the Fishbowl. And that's kind of exactly what I'm alluding to. Even before this holdout news, you're sitting there in that range, 108, 109, 110, where you're like, man, do I really feel comfortable taking Gordon here? Or should I take one of these top, 2, 3, 4 wide receivers? And that's kind of always been the problem with Gordon, why I was avoiding him. I'd rather grab one of those wide receivers in that range. So this, to me, helps fantasy owners because now if you get Gordon late second, early third, you feel okay about it regardless of what happens.
And the other thing is, like, wasn't Bell top 2 or 3 last year before he was doing this? So like you're passing up on stud. Like, not that Adams and the guys in the back half of the first round aren't studs, but you're not picking Gordon over another running back. You know what I mean?
But given what happened last year, because I don't think anybody saw the entire year holdout coming. Given what happened last year, now that the precedent has been set, does it put any doubts or fear in your mind about Melvin Gordon that, hey, maybe this could happen again?
Absolutely. Did you not see the video that when he's talking to his dad?
I didn't see it.
He's like, so his dad goes, do you think Le'Veon plays this year? And Melvin goes, no. Why would you? If they're not going to pay him. And he goes, he's going to sit out the whole season. And Melvin Gordon goes, I would.
And that was last year? Okay.
Yeah, that was last offseason. They Sports Illustrated followed Melvin Gordon around. You can find it on Twitter, the video of him talking to his dad. But
but it's easier to talk about somebody else leaving that money on the table. When it comes to you, let's see if he's got that same thought process. Look, more than likely he was trying to build up for this year, knowing it was coming, that they weren't going to want to pay him the money he wanted. Because let's face it, as good as he's been, last year was the first year he averaged over 4 yards a carry. I mean, he averaged over 5 last year. Had a great year, but he still broke down at the end of the season. The injury concerns are there. How much more can you really put into a guy who has known issues with injuries? I just don't see it. As we all see, they're willing to grab other guys and, use multiples if they have to. They don't care. They don't want to pay those big money dollars to most running backs anymore.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Okay, so
how old is Melvin?
I want to say
27.
Is he 27? I was thinking 26.
I was thinking that initially, but I wanted to throw you guys.
So this is what we were talking about last week, Jim. Is Smitty was saying that you get to that fifth year, and then the running backs just fall off. Well, this would be his 5th year.
He just turned 26 in April.
Yeah, right. So and look, you can put those arbitrary numbers out there, and not everybody falls into that same number range. We see that with guys like Peterson and Gore. They've hung around a lot more than 5 years. So, I understand what Smitty was saying last week, but at the same time, that doesn't fit everybody. I'm not saying it won't fit Gordon. It may work very well for Gordon because we know he has a history of missing time and missing games. He's only had one season, I believe, in his fourth where he actually did play all 16 games. I think it was 2017. But he's missed a couple of games in each of the other seasons. Not many. We're talking 2 or 3. No, actually, he missed 4 last year. So 4 at the most. So, there's definitely concerns there. And again, we're talking about a guy who he's relatively cheap to them this year at $5.6 million. But how much more is he going to want? Does he want those Le'Veon Bell numbers that Bell got from the Jets? And there's no way the Chargers is going to pay that. So for me right now, I'm with Andy and you in the fact that I don't want to touch him. There's too many other backs I like that I think have that same kind of upside that I just don't want to play this game with him. I was the one last year who told everybody on all my FNTSY shows, and you can go back and look, I told everybody, stay away from Bell. At the very least, he's going to hold out to week 10. And, of course, he ended up holding out the whole season. And that's why I didn't own one single share of Bell, and I had Connor in, a good 75% of my leagues. I think we may very well see that same kind of thing with Gordon, except I don't think it's going to work out in Gordon's favor. So
what side of the coin are you on with Jackson and Eckler?
I like Jackson more than I like Eckler. I think Jackson will get more of the every work. But don't wait. When I say that, I'm not talking a big margin. I still think Eckler is that change of pace guy. He still scores touchdowns. He still gets his chances. So I do like Eckler. But if Gordon misses a whole lot of time, I'm going to like Jackson a little bit more.
Yeah, change it, Frank. Frank's mad at me right now for those just tuning in and watching, not understanding.
Why don't you tell him? Yeah, exactly.
Well, we're going to get into SFB 9 talk later on.
Oh, Frank, okay, that's a good point. So let's wait till then.
Jim didn't want to talk about the fishbowl at all. I don't know why he hates Scott so much, but that's all Frank and I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, you know me so well. Scott Fish is one of my oldest friends in this industry, and pretty much he was working on my website before anybody knew who he was. This website, as a matter of fact, fantasytaz.com, Scott built for me. Designed it all, put it all together. The only thing he didn't design was that logo. I love that logo. That was all me. Back in the days when I did graphics. So, look, Scott Fishbowl is great. We're going to get to that in a minute, but there's other news I want to cover. We've spent way too much time on Gordon. I agree. It's definitely an issue right now with Gordon, and I think he's going to be strong and try and hold out. So that is definitely concerning. Let's keep going, though. More news. Andy Reid comes out and says what people have been wanting him to say. Hey, Damian Williams is my starter. He's earned the chance. He's going to go out there. The only thing that's going to hold him back is production if he doesn't get it. I'm going to go start with you, Frank. What's your thoughts on Damian Williams? Where would you draft him? Do you draft him? What's your thoughts?
I've been on the Damian Williams train all off season. I love him. Granted, yeah, who cares? We only saw a small sample size last year, but in that offense, you don't really see a ton of like RBBC with Andy Reid. You never really have. I would be taking Damian Williams everywhere I can if he's there in round 3, round 4 maybe, depending on what your roster looks like. If you go wide receiver, he's a great pick for me upside wise in round 3 to start your running back core off with, just because of the high powered offense that he's going to be a part of.
How about you, Andy? What's your thoughts here on Damian Williams?
It hurts me. It hurts me because I can remember going back like at least 5 years and beating the drum for Damian Williams. I liked him out of Oklahoma. I liked what he was showing as a receiving back, which kind of surprised me a little bit. Although he did have 34 receptions in his big year at Oklahoma, which was his junior year. But even going back to that time, his max carries in the season was 176. He hasn't had any more than 50 carries in an NFL season. You can give him all the volume you want. Can he hold up? Can he be durable? That premium, I don't want to pay it. They've obviously over-addressed the position. Now you can look at other situations. We've talked heavily about Gurley and how they talked about how they drafted Darrell Henderson and they had Malcolm Brown there ready that they re-signed, and that kind of read the tea leaves, and maybe they're more worried about Gurley. If they love Damian Williams so much, why did they bring in Carlos Hyde? Why did they draft Darwin Thompson? why did they draft Mecole Hardman? I know that's the Tyreek Hill issue, but my point being is that why did they bring in all of these options? Can you ever have too many? No, you can't. So maybe this is a stupid question for me to ask or
I
to
don't think it's a
pontificate
stupid
on. But
question. No, yeah, I don't. Wait. Look, it's definitely not a stupid question because everybody's asking it. Can he hold up to the number of carries that he could see as the main back? And that is the big question with him. We just don't know.
The problem with that,
go ahead, finish it.
Yeah, and the problem with that is you don't know until you find out. And you can go back and you can look and say, well, maybe he only had so many carries because he never averaged more than 4 yards per carry. So he really wasn't earning anything in Miami. And maybe that will be different in Kansas City. And we'll look back when he has 200 carries, it's going to be like, yeah, see, you guys were all fools. It's just that draft price. I just can't wrap my head around something so unproven. I know you could say that about a rookie. Rookies never played it down in the NFL, all that kind of stuff. But they've shown in college, well, some of them, not everybody. I know you could, Josh Jacobs, whatever, fine. But I don't know. I'm just having a hard time wrapping my head around it. And let's say it came out that he was going to be James White this year. Are you drafting him where his current ADP is? I don't think you are. So that to me is kind of like what his ceiling is, what James White did last year.
See, no, I don't agree with that because I mean James White had a great year, no doubt. And look, wait, if that is
he didn't.
No, if that is Damian Williams' ceiling, James White was a top 10 running back in PPR last year.
But is he being drafted as such?
He's not this year, no, because
that's
look,
my point.
They went out and got Damian Harris, who could do a lot of the same things. So again, they brought back Rex Burkhead. So
that's my point.
But it's not a point. Hold on a second.
It is a point.
No, it's not, because in New England, they're going to use all four backs. That's what they do. They use all four backs. Every back has its place. Every back's going to do a little bit of everything. James White is a good all-around Swiss Army knife for them. But last year was the first time he was really fantasy relevant all season long. The first time. This year, Damian Williams, that's not going to be the case. With Andy Reid, he likes one back. He likes a back, one back system, and that's what he's going to work. And that's where the difference lies. So you can't say, I don't think you can compare him to James White, because he's going to be as long as he can stay healthy and he's producing, he's going to be the back in Kansas City in a very high-powered offense with a great offensive line.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and that's fine. And Henry's chiming in saying he only had 94 carries last year. He did only have 94 carries last year, but this was in a limited role. I mean, he wasn't the primary runner at any time, and for him to get 94 carries, I'm just looking at what Damian Williams does well and what he's shown he can do well and what his skill set has shown to be excellent at in the pros, and that's as a receiver. That's what we think of James White. James White got more carries, got more volume, got more touchdowns than he had ever done at any point in his career last year. That's kind of where I was drawing that kind of name as a comparison. My point being, a top 10 season last year, you figure he's still Tom Brady's go-to guy. You figure he's still going to have a good portion. Okay, I do. I think James White, I thought we talked about that at some point in the show, that James White is a good running back to feel comfortable about owning. My point being, like the ADP for both of them, I'd rather invest in James White a little further back than Damian Williams. And if I'm wrong on it, hey, I'll be wrong on it.
And fair enough. I get the value aspect of it, not wanting to take that early round pick. I get it. There's a lot of risk to it. But, the more I look at it, every running back in that tier has risk. Fournette, Cook, they almost all have some kind of risk, whether it be injury or not. They all have something in that range. So, again, you can look at the top 4 or 5 guys at running back in each of the last few years, and they keep switching. It's a constantly changing environment, whether it be injury or not. These guys take a pounding. So yeah, I get what you're saying. I absolutely get what you're saying. And I'm not saying it's a bad way to look at it. We all have the guys that we like and the guys that we don't. I get it.
Let me just add this, and then I want to know Frank's thoughts on this. But Damian Williams, after him, are Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones, Marlon Mack. I feel more comfortable at any of those.
Wait. He's before Chubb?
No, I said, yeah. Well, I'm not. Well, you just busted me because I'm not looking at the ADP I'm supposed to be looking at for the show. But the one I'm looking at, he's 21 and Chubb
No,
is
that's
22.
that's nuts. I wouldn't take him over Chubb though. That's the thing.
And this isn't a half-point PPR.
Yeah, I'm not
Well, you
taking
got to
him over.
remember, a lot of people. Okay, again, just playing devil's advocate. A lot of people are worried about Chubb in the second half of the season when Hunt comes back. Not so much that Hunt's going to take over the job or anything like that, but what if they're trying to keep Chubb healthy for the playoff run, and all of a sudden Hunt is getting a 50-50 split, so they don't have to keep pounding Chubb like they did in the first half of the season because they didn't have Hunt, and that's what a lot of people are concerned about now with Chubb.
What?
I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but again, that's what people are worried about.
What
So
if Kareem Hunt is in more trouble than Tyreek Hill this year?
Yeah, well, it's very much possibility. Hey, look, it is what it is.
Sorry,
I
Frank.
definitely don't want to get on the Tyreek Hill train again. I'm just
So
getting
my
tired of
thing
that
is-
argument.
Last year, James White doubled his highest reception total. Right? I mean, rushing total, not reception total. He doubled his highest rushing total. They drafted Damian Harris for a reason. I don't think White gets close to 94.
I wasn't
season.
saying I
He's
think
never
he gets.
not.
I was just saying I think he gets 94 carries. My point was I don't think Damian Williams is the guy that we're going to look back at as 250 carries later going, see, told you so.
But he doesn't have to. They're
Look,
not
if
gonna-
he gets
they're not gonna give him
250, wait, if he gets over 200 carries, we're all going to be telling you, I told you so.
Yeah,
If
that's
he gets
fine.
200 carries in this offense, he's going to put up monster numbers.
And that's
The offense is too good around him.
And that's fine. I'll take that. Would you have felt better if I said Duke Johnson?
No.
Wait, I like Duke
I love
Johnson.
Duke Johnson. Look, don't get me wrong about James White. I like James White. I just think he's going to fall a little bit further back to earth this year just because of the fact, the guys they brought in, Damian Harris, they got Burkhead back. They didn't need to. And Michelle is sitting there. So there's a lot of unknowns there. Last year, White did all his damage when everybody else was hurt, and he was the only real option. Michelle missed time. Burkhead was out. They didn't really have anything else behind him that they trusted. We know Brady trusts him, and when giving the opportunity, he could definitely produce. I'm more worried about whether or not he's going to get that type of opportunity this year if the other guys remain healthy.
I think we realistically can look at Damian Williams and think he's going to get between 150 and 170 carries and between 50 and 60 targets, maybe. Right? If he's healthy.
Cheers. Comfortable.
If he's healthy, can we not agree that that's a fair assessment? They're going to.
I'm telling you right now, if he's healthy all year, he's going to have at least 225 carries easily.
And I would love that because I have him in multiple places. But I think Hyde would now. Williams is what, 225? I think he's 6 foot 225 or maybe 5'11", whatever it is. So he's got but that doesn't mean Hyde. That doesn't mean Hyde can't be the goal line back. You know what I mean? Or
that's not Andy Reid's style. He wants one back that's going to be the guy. I get it. Having Reid Hyde there is a little bit more concerning to people because Hyde can do a lot of the same stuff that Williams did. I just think it really at this point it's Williams' job to lose, and you want a piece of that offense, whatever it is. The good thing is that if you do grab Williams at the end of the second, beginning of the third round, it's still really easy to come back later on and get Hyde because Hyde's still not going until the 9th, 10th round in a lot of drafts. So why not handcuff him at that point? He costs you nothing.
All right, we got to move on. It's 9:25. We haven't talked about Scott Fishbowl
yet. Yeah. Okay, let's see what else news we had. We had a few other things. Of course, we got to talk about the Derrius Guice thing. We hear about the hamstring injury today. May not be ready for start of training camp. Well, be honest, they weren't sure about him being ready for the start of training camp anyway. But now this, hamstring injury comes into play. Where do you see, and I'll start with you this time, Andy, where do you see Guice falling with this? What do you think happens here in this offense, at least for the running backs?
This is just bad all around. He obviously had the unfortunate rookie season when it looked like, maybe he could be a running back stud. Then you hear the reports of the not so great recovery from the knee injury. Now this happens. It's just a mess in Washington. You go back to the left tackle, situation. All they've done there, that they're not getting any talent out of some of their more recent picks, kind of completely rehauling what you see on offense there, from quarterback to receiver to running back and everything in between. I don't know. It's becoming one of those things, like certain players you feel like, prove it to me once before I want to start considering you.
So
and Guice is kind of that for me now.
So isn't a soft tissue thing something that a lot of the guys that are coming back from ACL tears?
Yeah, that was going to be my next. Yeah, we were just talking about that on the Red versus Blue shows. Yes, we saw that exact same thing happen with Cook last year.
Yeah,
coming back from the torn ACL, he had the hamstring injury. Yeah, that seems to be prevalent when they're trying to push these guys back too fast from the ACL.
Didn't Gurley do that his rookie year in the rookie offseason? Didn't he have a hamstring problem, I think?
Oh, man, I don't remember.
I thought, with you. Oh, man. It's so fucking, so long ago.
Yeah. It feels like it, don't it? It's definitely a long time ago in fantasy terms.
The sad part, it's only like 4 years.
Yeah, I get that. So, look, what's your take, Frank? Are you still drafting Guice? If so, where? Do you like any part of Adrian Peterson?
I would, if there's any way that I can acquire both of them in a dynasty league, I would try to do that. I don't know what I would give up for Guice currently. Maybe 70% of the value that you were going to give up for him yesterday before we found out about this. I would love to have both of them. If I'm being an LSU fan, I would love to have him on my team just because we don't know what he's done in the NFL yet. And I personally think he was better than Fournette in college, which Fournette's always hurt too. And I think they improved that offensive line, and we saw Peterson able to run and get some holes. And why couldn't Guice have success if he was healthy? You know what I mean? So I don't know about maybe taking him in dynasty in drafts and startups right now just because of the uncertainty. But if I'm in a league and a guy's looking to move him, I'm always gonna see what the value is.
Well, that's fair. There's nothing wrong with that, and you got to look at value always, no matter where you're drafting. That's the name of the game, trying to get value at all times. Look, I've been on Peterson anyway. Again, I keep saying this, but the fact that he got 1,000 yards behind that makeshift offensive line with no offensive weapons around him, a fourth-string quarterback, all his wide receivers hurt, it amazes me. And they say he came into camp this year in better shape than he was last year.
He's AP. I mean,
yeah, exactly. I'm done doubting him. I didn't think he was going to do anything last year. In preseason last year on FNTSY, we were all thought it was a joke that they brought him to Washington, and look what he did. So I'm not doubting him this year. If Guice comes out slow, it's going to be the Peterson game until Guice gets started, and that may not be till half season.
And this is the thing: if Chris Thompson's healthy, I don't see them not using him on third downs and passing downs. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're only realistically, for me, I think you're only going to see Guice or Peterson, whichever one's on the field, on first and second downs and running situations. I don't know how much they're going to really throw to Peterson or Guice.
Well, Guice is a decent pass catcher if he gets on the field. Peterson, you're right. They don't throw to him much. And Chris Thompson has always been good with the ball if he can stay healthy. So I agree with you there. Let's keep moving. Let's see. We could talk about the Chris Herndon getting suspended 4 games for PEDs. But you know what? I don't really want to talk about him anyway. Let's keep going. I do want to talk about this last one quickly. Let's get into this about how the owners want an 18-game schedule, but I love this last part. They want an 18-game schedule, but players can only play in 16 of the 18 games. Imagine trying to run a fantasy team if you don't know if your guy's going to play that week.
I hate it.
I don't want it at all.
I hate it, and not for fantasy purposes. I just think you're.
Why are you going to pay those guys all that money to make them sit 2 weeks?
Wait. The 2 weeks, the reason they want to keep it at 16 games is so that they don't have to put asterisks in all of the record books when the numbers are shattered by guys all of a sudden playing 18 games.
Well, it changed with the times. Like,
I hear you, but that's their thought process.
No,
they're poking it by saying it's all about player safety.
So give them an extra bye week. and then make sure that if they're going to play on a Thursday night, they're bye weeks after it or before.
I still hate it. I still hate it. To me, this is just more greed from the NFL.
Oh, of course it is. Absolutely.
I can only imagine how much they make per week in TV.
They would make an additional $2.5 billion from 2 extra games.
But it's disgusting. You know what happens when you oversaturate something? People don't want it as much anymore. And, make football – right now, if you ask most football fans, how would you feel about a year-round football league? 52 games a year. Yes, sign me up. Until you do it. And then after like 20 weeks, you'd be like, oh, man, I need a break from this. And maybe not 20, but some guys would be off at 10. Some guys would be off at 20. Some guys would be off at 30. There'll be guys that would go the whole 52. But my point is, like, it's greed. Like, make it exclusive. Keep it at 16 games. Keep it what it is. If you want to shorten anything, you want to talk about player safety, cut the preseason. Nobody goes to those games anyway. I was a season ticket holder for the Jets. I know what it's like to try to unload preseason games. That's why they factor the preseason prices into your season plan, because nobody goes. So just cut out 2 preseason games. Make practices, training camp 2 weeks longer, or just push the whole season back 2 weeks. It's not really that big of a deal. I don't think you need to add 2 games.
I agree cutting the preseason games. I think you should have maybe 2 preseason games for the starters to play some, and then that 3rd preseason games for the guys that are going to make the team, for your backups and your depth. And then give the guys give them push. Why can't training camp be a week earlier, and then you get an extra week before the season starts, rather than preseason ends and then they're going straight into the regular season? Give these guys time. Be worried about player safety. And then push the regular season to 18 weeks, but give them 2 buys. So it's the same amount of games, but you give them an extra bye before a Thursday game. Like, I couldn't imagine playing a full NFL game and then 4 days later playing again, and then traveling in between it. You know what I mean?
Well, they do it now, though. So, I get what you're saying. I think the whole logistics of having an 18-game season, but guys can only play 16, adds a lot of strategy for the coaches. But for fantasy, I think it's going to be nuts. People would be going nuts. They'd have to figure out a way that, we'd have to know by Wednesday if a player's not playing on Sunday. And they're going to have to do that for gambling as well, because they have to let the Vegas know who's not playing that week.
I play in an English Premier League, fantasy league, and, soccer, different guys play every week. There's a different starting 11 from each team. And those don't come out until an hour before the game. So to find, like, in each week, you don't know who's going to play. They just take randomly sick guys at different times. And it's very frustrating, especially if you forget to check that week. Your team, you could miss 6 guys. So how are they going to prepare us each week? Because, like you said, Vegas is going to make sure they know who's playing and who's not. If Drew Brees is going to sit week 7, they're going to want to know Drew Brees.
Yeah, exactly. And since that's money driven and the league is highly invested in that now, I agree with you. They're going to want to know who's sitting that week, which is probably the only thing that's going to help fantasy.
From a fantasy angle, though, I think it would actually be a good thing. I hate the whole idea totally, and I don't think fantasy should have a dictate. But from a fantasy angle, I think it could actually help. Let's say you just mentioned Drew Brees. Drew Brees can only play 16 games. So those other 2 games, Taysom Hill is going to have to play, right? Or whoever.
Teddy Bridgewater.
Whoever you want to throw in there, fine. Running back position, wide receiver. What if somebody has like 2 phenomenal weeks as like the starting running back because the starter couldn't play? Now all of a sudden you got a conundrum on your hands. There's a deeper player.
I will say this. It will make running back 2s a lot more valuable, because a Lat Murray, to me, knowing he's going to start 2 weeks and still get 30% of the touches every other week, that's a lot more valuable to me in a draft than currently. You know what I mean? Especially in that offense. Or a Carlos Hyde. If you know Damian Williams has to sit 2 weeks, and Carlos Hyde's going to get 25% of the touches every other week, but then those 2 weeks in that Kansas City offense, because he may play with Mahomes that week, or they may sit Mahomes and Williams together. You don't know.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. It's really going to be that way. I think it'd be kind of interesting to try it out, but
my head hurts thinking about it. Like, I can't imagine. I'd have to cut back on my leagues. I literally would probably do 2 leagues.
And you thought we spent too much time talking about Melvin Gordon.
Yeah. Okay, so let's keep going. Hey, the Scott Fish Bowl, of course, going on for a lot of people right now.
Let's save that for later.
I want to talk about it now because otherwise we'll run out of time. We won't talk about it. So let's get into it. I mean, of course, everybody by now knows 1,200 teams, 100 leagues of 12 teams each. Super flex. There's a little bump in, point scoring for tight ends where they get a full point per reception. They also get an additional half a point for first downs. Quarterbacks get 6 points for passing TD, but also get -4 for every interception. And if it's a pick six, they get -6. So, definitely a little tougher on the quarterback scoring. Luckily, I halfway luckily, I was in the division that drafted the fastest. We were the first ones done. We actually finished earlier today. And while it was good to be in a fast draft because every other one I've done in Scott Fishbowl has been a lot slower than that. Now I'm kind of disappointed my draft's over because I was enjoying the draft.
Yeah, that's the one thing I don't understand is like enjoy it, man. You're done in 5 days. 5 fucking days. You're done. You waited a whole year for this, and now it's over.
Yeah, no, it's kind of crazy. So I want to go through my team. I want to get your guys' opinion because, man, this is probably the weirdest team I've go ahead.
Didn't you draft Devontae also in the first round?
Yes.
Okay, so all three of us took Adams with our first round picks.
Yeah, he was there for me at 111. I had the 11th pick. And to me, that was just the safest move at that point. Didn't really love the running backs that were still left. Kelsey had already gone. Mahomes was gone. Two guys that I was considering if they happened to fall. I know a few people got Mahomes at 11 and Kelsey at 11, but definitely not my draft. They were both gone early. So I took Adams with the thought of coming back and grabbing one of the other two tight ends, Kittle or Ertz at the 202, but the guy who had the 112 and the 201 took both of them. So it kind of threw me in a loop right off the bat. So this is my team so far. My quarterbacks are Matt Ryan, Ben Roethlisberger, and Derek Carr. My running backs are Todd Gurley, Darrell Henderson, Jordan Howard, Mike Davis, Giovanni Bernard, C.J. Anderson, and Doug Martin. I need a couple of those guys to come through for me, but I like my wide receivers. I got Devontae Adams, Julian Edelman, Robert Woods, Larry Fitzgerald, Dante Moncrief, David Moore, Mohamed Sanu, Jaron Brown, and Josh Gordon. And then at tight end, I got Jack Doyle, Kyle Rudolph, and Will Dissly. So I once I missed out on the three big, I really waited long on tight ends. I'm okay with the trio I got. I think they'll be okay. And I really like my wide receivers. You like who? Doyle,
I love Doyle.
Yeah, me too. I think, everybody's overpaying for Ebron. I like Ebron, again, more in a best ball league because I do think he's still going to be the red zone guy. But in a PPR league where I have to start somebody, I'd rather have Doyle.
But he only played, when Doyle was healthy, Ebron only played 23% of snaps or something like that.
Doyle's numbers pretty much across the board were double Ebron's when they were on the field together in the same game. So, I get that. But Ebron is still going to be the red zone guy.
But
it was obvious.
Yeah, but if you get double Ebron's production, right, and say Doyle finishes as a tight end 8, like that's a steal for you from where you got him in the draft.
No, absolutely. I absolutely agree. The value where he's been going, which is very late, is great. I'll take that every day.
So what was your strategy before? Did you have like a set strategy of how you wanted to attack the team?
I didn't really this draft, I didn't really go in with a set strategy just because it can be attacked in so many different ways. And we knew it was going to be a little different than what we would normally envision a draft to be, even a super flex, because we knew that tight ends were going to be heavy early. A lot of quarterbacks were going to come off the board early. So because of that, I didn't really have a set strategy. I was really going to, roll with the draft. I did want to try and figure out a way at 111 and 202 to come up with 2 picks that would just throw the draft on its ear and maybe get other guys to freak out a little bit. But again, it just didn't work out that way. Mahomes didn't fall. None of the tight ends fell. So it just didn't work that way. So I had to go to the next best route and take the best player on the board pretty much every round.
I was just looking over my draft again. I actually didn't take Adams in the first round. I took Kittle at 108, and Devontae Adams was still there at 205. That's why I grabbed him. So
Wow, nice. 205. Holy crap, that's great.
I wound up with Adams, but I was targeting tight end for sure. And Kelsey, Bob Long. Listen, all these divisions are stacked, but I feel like my division might literally be one of the toughest divisions out there. And I'm not just
yes, you are.
No, I'm really not. I mean, you got to figure. I finished 4th last year, and I'm in it. D. Willie, I think it's Dave Williams, was a top 10 finalist, and he's in it. You got Bob Long, Dave Martinez, John Evans from Yahoo, Chad Parsons, Sal Lido. That's 7 of 12.
Well, you and Sal don't count, so there's only 5.
No, Sal doesn't count.
And I'll tell you this. Chad Parsons was actually a guy I brought into this business. He started writing for me. I gave him his first shot at writing for my old website.
You just gave. If anybody follows me on Twitter, you've been watching this week. I've been really talking a lot of shit.
Sal block you yet?
Mostly no. Sal's my boy. Mostly to Sal. But yeah, we're leading the SFB9 as a division in Smack Talking right now. So you just gave me some ammunition to fire away at Chad. But I was talking to tight end, and Bob Long took Kelsey at 107 right before me. So I figured, you know what? Let me lock up one of these tight ends. It was really only Kittle or Ertz for me. I like Ertz a lot, but I just feel like you can't add Dallas Goedert having an improved second season. You can't add Alshon Jeffrey being healthy and having a successful season, and JJ Arcega-Whiteside coming in as a rookie and being a tight end threat, and Jordan Howard being the goal. I mean, how many touchdowns is Philly going to score? 7,000 for all these guys to be valuable. So Ertz for me was the guy who was kind of like, hey, Kittle is the guy. I'm happy to see the Jimmy G comments that he reminds him of Gronk come out today. I'm happy to have gotten Kittle at 108, and then Devontae Adams to just be sitting there at 205 was like, I mean, that was the probably biggest no-brainer of the entire draft.
Yeah, look, I agree with you. Adams in the middle of the second, I would take that all day. There's no doubt about it. And if I would have thought, well, look, I was going to go for one of the 2 tight ends. I did not figure the 112 and the 201 to take both of them. I just didn't. I thought one of them would fall.
The biggest no-brainer in probably all of SFB9 was me taking Dante Moncrief in the 13th round as my wide receiver 5 and welching on a pact that Frank and I had.
Look, you guys know how I feel about him. Look, it's a process. We got to see who ends up doing the job. We'll hopefully get some kind of look in training camp, definitely in preseason. We'll see a little bit of how this shakes out. But I just think he's got the talent.
So you're sitting here, Andy, talking. You're still dead to me.
So listen, you almost were literally on the water tonight. So that could have been a true statement. So I'm happy. If you want to play around and say I'm dead to you, I'm happy. I'm happy. As long as you're here to say it to me.
So did you have a strategy that you were going in with?
Me?
Did you know? Yeah. Like, did you have like what you wanted to do, or were you just going to let it come to you?
A little of both, but I definitely had a strategy. I mean, listen, last year, I don't know if what I did last year had anything to do with how I finished, but I can't say it didn't. So I was definitely trying to get my 3 quarterbacks early.
Yeah, me too.
And when I say 3, it's a super flex league. So, excuse me, this was
who are your 3 quarterbacks?
Carson Wentz, who's going to throw 7,000 touchdowns in that Eagles offense. Jameis Winston and Josh Allen. And Josh Allen was really more of a reach, but it was because there is no backup to him. At least I don't think there is. The rushing, what he showed down the stretch.
Yeah, you'll get those bonus points for rushing alone.
Yeah, so I felt like if that's
you won't get it for passing, but you'll get it for rushing.
No, but he was throwing 300 yards a game.
No, it was more a joke than anything else.
Okay. No, I mean, but as quarterback 3, but
he was the quarterback 1 the last 6 weeks of the season. So.
Exactly. So I had, and if there's regression there, I'm not relying on him other than a bye.
No, I totally agree. For what? Quarterback 3, why not take the shot? I took the shot on Carr only because of Antonio Brown.
But how many rounds did it take you to get your 3? Like I had 3 within the first 8 rounds.
Yeah, well, it was right around there for me too. Yeah, I definitely took the third quarterback before I was fully set at the other positions.
I had 3. I took my third in the 7th round.
Yeah, I think that was when I got my third, was in the 7th round too. Again, when you're in that 11th pick, man, if you miss out and they go on a quarterback run, you're screwed. And I don't like to do super flex without having at least 3 guaranteed starters.
And this is what I was telling, everybody gets put in your different, like, your pick chats. And so they were all like, oh, well, quarterbacks keep falling. Like, I'm going to wait. And I said, look, my quarterbacks I took Baker in the 3rd round, Russell Wilson in the 4th round, and I took Brady in the 7th. And I kept telling them, like, they were like, you don't need Brady. Like, you have the other 2. And I'm like, I don't want a QB3 that I can't rely on.
No, it's and beyond that though, you've now taken Brady away from being on somebody else's roster.
Right, exactly right.
And the other thing is, I would rather Brady if one of the other 2 go down than have to spend fab and get the backup of Baker or Russell Wilson. You know what I mean?
I mean, bottom line is this: you have a super flex league. You need 3 dependable quarterbacks for injury, for bye week, for hot streaks, whatever it is. You need to feel comfortable with 3 quarterbacks in a super flex league. There's only 12 teams. There's not 30. There's not 36 starting quarterbacks.
Right. 4 teams are not going to have a viable starter to begin, so they're going to have to take backups and hope they get the jobs. The young quarterbacks that came into the league, like Haskins and those guys are going to have to be drafted as their thirds, and I didn't want to deal with that, so I made sure I got Carr where I got him, and I took him above Stafford. And a lot of people question that. But again, it was more about the fact that I know Oakland's going to throw the ball, and Antonio Brown is one of the best receivers in the game. So he's going to make any quarterback better. And let's face it, Carr threw for 4,000 yards last year with a host of nobodies. So, I didn't have any problem with that. My running backs are my concern. But, I grabbed Gurley, as I've been saying, in the 2nd round. I've been saying that all along. I'm going to stick to it. If he falls to me in the 2nd, I'm going to take him every day. And then, Henderson was still there in the 8th. And I said, okay, well, then at that point, it makes a smart move. I've been against handcuffing Henderson to him, Gurley, because people have been taking Henderson as early as the 6th round. And I just can't spend that kind of draft capital on him, when you have Gurley.
I got to pull it up because he went super early. I think it was either my draft or another draft. I saw him go.
He went in the 3rd round in somebody's draft.
Yeah, that's what it was. Then it was. I don't think it was mine. He went right. It was the 3rd. Super early.
What's the rest of your team look like?
Whose?
Yours, Andy. We know Jim's.
So those are my 3 quarterbacks. I got Kittle, and then I doubled down on rookies with Fant and Josh Oliver to back up Kittle. Devontae Adams, Chris Godwin, Sterling Shepard. Dipped into the N'Keal Harry waters. Went with
Harry.
You know what? Where he is, and I got him in the 11th is kind of, I felt like
I take that every day. Yep.
Yeah. And then, a couple veterans who could surprise with Dante Moncrief and then John Brown all the way down in the 16th. The running backs are probably my biggest concern, but I don't hate them either. Marlon Mack, Phillip Lindsay, Jordan Howard. I mentioned Eckler I took this morning. About half hour after the news broke, about half hour before anybody realized it and it started trending. So it's kind of good timing to take Eckler, but maybe would have taken Jackson at that point. But wound up with Eckler, and of course Jackson went soon after. So came back with Ito Smith in the 14th and got down to the 17th, and not a lot left at the running back position. So a rookie that I've been pretty big on. I think I've talked about it on this show. I went with Dexter Williams, who's right now my 6th running back. So I got 4 picks left here. Not 100% sure which way I'm going with those, but so far, I mean, overall, looking at my team, I like it. The problem with this league is there's no trading. So
yeah,
you gotta
be aggressive on the waiver wire.
Yeah, but I mean, if you think about it, I agree. Look, I love trading, but there's a reason he does that, because somebody could just stack their team. You know what I mean?
Oh, no. I don't have any issues with Scott for doing it. You have to do it. But my point was strategy-wise, like I meant that to say like Godwin and Sterling Shepard to me could both be wide receiver 1s or could both be good wide receiver 2s, where if I have both of those guys in a different league, I could probably trade both of them for what you feel is a more comfortable wide receiver 1.
Oh yeah, well yeah.
I can't do that in this league. So I might have good depth, but I might not have great. It might not be top heavy.
So for mine, I went
Nobody
into
asked
it.
you.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna tell you because
What round are you in?
I don't get to talk much. We are in the back half of the 17th.
Crickets.
So
I don't even think he realizes it yet.
No, I don't know how to turn it back on.
Oh man.
It won't let me unmute you. Oh crap! There we go.
I can unmute myself. That's messed up, Jim. I don't ever get to talk enough as it is.
That's why it was all the more funny for me.
Yeah. So at 109, my strategy was knowing that I wasn't going to get one of the top 5 running backs. I wanted to. My strategy was to go and get 2 of the top wide receivers, 2 of the top 5, in my opinion. So wanted Adams and Thomas, or Adams and Hopkins. Somehow, some way, I wanted to get both of those. So I took Adams at 109, and then Kittle fell to me at 204. So I took Kittle.
So we basically wound up the same thing, and so
just backwards.
Yeah, maybe Kittle would have lasted at 205 then. Okay.
Yeah, but you don't know. Like I said, he went in the 112 for me. So
yeah, right.
So my whole idea was I was going to punt running back and I was going to punt tight end because I want to get the pass catching backs for Scott Fish, just because I think there was a couple like Cohen who I picked up in the 6th round that I think can get 50 yards rushing and receiving each game, just to give you that extra 10 points. I took Hines as one of my running backs in maybe round 10 or 11, because I think with Marlon Mack there, he may not play all 16, and Hines is going to be the pass catcher. But I took Baker and I took Russell 3rd and 4th rounds. I took Sony because he fell to me in the 5th round, so I have Sony as my RB1. I took Adams, and then Galladay was there in round 6, so I took him as my 2nd wide receiver. I picked up Harry to match with Tom Brady in case I have to play Brady. And then I just took my 2nd tight end, Josh Oliver, in round 17. I'm looking to maybe grab another one here. I think I'm up in like 2 picks. Maybe take Dawson Knox or something like that, or maybe take another wide receiver.
I hope your league mates aren't listening.
It doesn't matter if they are or not. Maybe that's my strategy to tell them I'm thinking about taking Dawson Knox.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair enough.
Okay, guys. One last thing. Go ahead, Frank.
No, I was just gonna say I really like the way my team came out, especially when I was punting running back. I have Sony, I have Cohen, and I have who's the 3rd one? Let's see who it is. Tevin Coleman is my 3rd running back.
Well, that could pay up big for you if he's as good as everybody expects.
I also took McKinnon, so I kind of did what you did. I was gonna try to take Breida too. I was gonna try to take McKinnon and Breida at the turn. But somebody took Breida before I could get back to me on my next pick. So I have McKinnon and Coleman, and hopefully they pan out for me.
Well, I will say this. Good luck, guys. It's a tough field. It always is. As much as we all know about fantasy football, a lot of it still comes down to luck, which guys stay healthy, all that kind of crap. So good luck to both of you. Hopefully you guys can finish 2nd and 3rd behind me.
Hey. If all 3 of us finish 1, 2, 3, this thing's gonna take off like
everybody will be listening to this podcast next year, right. No doubt.
And then we gotta no, because as soon as they see you in a red singlet, they're gonna turn it off.
I ain't putting on no damn red singlet. That ain't happening.
Can I just add this real quick?
No.
So Scott Fishbowl is in the ninth season. I believe this year was supposed to have originally been 900, and then he upped it to 1200. Or it might have always been planned to be 1,200, but regardless, point is it's a lot of people and not everybody can get in. The buzz is currently, as of right this moment, there's a sign up for SFBX. There's already 3,387 people signed up for next year.
I signed up.
I'm in there too. So if you were 1201 this year and you didn't get in, I got 2 things to tell you. One, go to SFBX because I know Scott very well, as does Jim, and Frank does as well. And if you think this is big, the 10th anniversary SFBX, I can tell you right now, I can tease. There's a lot of things that were supposed to be ready for this year that didn't make it that are definitely in, and next year is going to be humongous. I can't tell you what the pool size is going to be, but I can tell you definitely go to the sign-up sheet. The other thing I'm going to plug is I did a complete ripoff of the Fishbowl, which is entering its 5th season now, Draft with Giants, and it's a best ball version. A lot of wonky scoring as well. So we don't draft till August. Scott is in it himself. He's been in it since day one. So if you missed out on Fishbowl and you want to get in something for this year, you can email draftwithgiants@gmail. I'll put it in the comments here. And you can.
Oh, I want in. I want to play.
Weren't you in there before? I think you've been in
I
there.
was.
So the other thing is Scott said there was, Jim, you may be able to correct me on this, but I want to say he said there was 131 people that signed up for 7, 8, and 9 and didn't get in. So they said signed up for all 3 of the previous years and haven't got in. And he said he's guaranteeing that those 131 make SFBX.
Oh, I hadn't heard that actually. So that's
I think he tweeted it out like a week ago. That
one of the things he's definitely bringing in for next year, which is going to be interesting, is that he's going to throw some live drafts into the mix where people actually meet in person.
I can't wait.
So that should be interesting.
I think I'm hosting one in New York City, actually, which coincidentally, just want to say we can curse on the show, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I just want to say fuck you, Salito. If any of you guys want to chime in real quick and join me in bashing Salito, please.
Why are you bashing Sal?
Because he's in for 2 reasons. Well, 3 reasons. One, he's in my division, so it's the ultimate trash talk division. 2, he forgot to include me in the Podathon this year after my appearance last year boosted ratings to something ridiculous compared to what the rest of the 23 hours did.
Were you wearing a singlet?
No, I just was being myself, and I got sandwiched in between Scott and Sal Stefano. So I brought Sal and Scott. I was the glue. I was the meat to the Scott Sal sandwich. And anyway, that didn't sound right.
Okay, that's definitely a vision I don't want in my damn head. Holy crap!
Sal forgot to bring me back on the Podathon, and then I was gonna go do it with him in person since we don't live far. So that's another reason I'm bashing him. And the third reason I'm bashing him is because in 2019, I don't know who I'm allowed to bash anymore, but I know Sal is somebody that I definitely can because he can take it. So those are the 3 reasons I'm bashing Salito. So once again, Sal, screw you.
Well, there you go. Hey, I got to tell you, they did a great job on the Podathon this year. A lot of great guests. I was one of them. Sorry that you guys weren't. But it was again a lot of fun. They raised a lot of money. I think they doubled the money this year that they made last year. So they did a great job. Full-time fantasy. Well, actually, FFChamps sponsored 2 hours of it. So we put a little bit into it as well.
Fantasy Cares is going to, I'm predicting, be in 6 digits this year.
Yeah, I think it's going to be close to 100,000
for what the donation will be.
So
wow, that's kind of interesting. I really think $100,000. That's more than doubling what he made last year because he made 44.5 last year.
But he's doubled. He's doubled it every year. If you look at it, almost at least doubled it every year.
Yeah, more power to him. I hope he gets there.
I think it was only like 17,000 the year before, and he put it up to 45.
It was $40 the first year. He walked out. He walked out of Toys R Us with like 3 action figures.
Oh yeah. But that was back when it was the FF Oasis Invitational.
Yeah,
that was his first website was FF Oasis, and that was the Invitational. I was lucky to be a proud member of the founding draft with them. So it's just amazing how far he's taken this and how much just the amount of work he puts in to this, which is a free enterprise to him. He's got a full-time job that puts in way too many hours in doing that, running, commissioning how many hundreds of different leagues and all of the other things he does. And he still does this. I mean, I know he has some help now. There's some guys that help him. Of course, Ryan and some other guys help him out here and there and do stuff. But just the amount of work he puts into this without taking a dime is just amazing to me. And, look, the man's doing great work. That's all I can say. He's just doing great work. Good for him. Thank you, Scott.
Two things real quick. One, I agree with Andy. Sal can go kick rocks. Screw you, Sal. Because the first podathon ever was when we were having my son. So I was on there the whole time waiting in the hospital for my son to be born. And I've been asking him all year to get on it. And then he tells me all year, yeah, we'll get you on. And then it comes out and he puts out the schedule and my name's nowhere to be found. He's like, oh, yeah, I forgot. So, which I still tuned in and watched all of it, which they do great work. I don't know how they stay up for that long. I couldn't do it. But kudos to him, but to Kevin and to Steve. But Sal can kick rocks. And then the other thing is to Scott, I really wish, and maybe I'm an asshole for this, but I'm rightfully so an asshole. Every person that tweets at Scott about not getting in or tries to tweet at Scott about some bullshit, I will immediately comment and say something to you, because for you to go at Scott like that without knowing anything,
wait, I got to tell you something. I totally understand where you're coming from, but by you doing that, it doesn't help the cause.
I agree.
Because you're just making some idiot matter and all that. And it doesn't help in the long run. It's almost better to just disregard those assholes and just keep going, which is what Scott does. But, every time somebody tries to rush to defend him, look, I get it. I understand the want of the desire to protect Scott, but he's a big man. He could definitely deal with it on his own. And I just think it just keeps pushing things so that they snowball and get worse.
Well, put it like this. The draft hasn't even ended yet. It's 5 days in, and there's already 3,300 people signed up for next year. So I don't think there's anything broken with this system or how Scott's doing it. So
no, not at all. I mean, who knows? I mean, the three of us want – we may not get in. It's not like
maybe you, but
I guess, sorry, Frank. I'm pretty much a guarantee. So
Scott was invited. Scott was invited to my wedding. Are you kidding me?
That doesn't mean you get in.
I've been in.
I'm winning, so I'll be. I'm winning this year, so I'll be in next year to defend the title. So
yeah.
But I heard if you win, you got to wear a Speedo.
That's fine. I'll go naked. I don't give a shit.
Well, we definitely don't want you to win then.
Next time, give me a warning when you're going to wear a shirt like that on a show so I can bring some sunglasses with me, Frank.
Oh, with the bright yellow shirt.
It's an LSU shirt.
I'd rather the tidy whitey wife beater you had.
I'll put it back on for you.
Okay. So, that's about it for us, guys. Of course, this is FFChamps After Dark. I'm Jim Day. That's Andy Singleton. And that is Frank Scanduro. Andy, tell everybody where they can find you, what you got going on, any last-minute thoughts you want to throw out there.
No, because we got to end the show. But I got too much going on, so just follow me on Twitter at People's Pen, and you'll see everything I'm doing. A lot of big stuff coming, especially August 1st. That's all I'll tell you. At People's Pen, People's with the Z. Just look up my name, Andy Singleton. You'll find me, and you'll see everything that's going down.
How about you, Frank?
Everybody, y'all can find me at DHH_Frank. I'm always on Twitter answering questions and helping people out. And anything that Andy says on this pod is null and void because he doesn't follow it in real life.
Oh, there you go, because he drafted the man, the myth, the soon-to-be legend.
Listen, I defended what I said, and I owned it. I said I welched on that pack that you and I had.
Well, this was a big week for me because we restarted over at the FNTSY Sports Network. We restarted the Fantasy Football Frenzy show. That's on every day, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. You can find us on YouTube. Just search for FNTSY. You'll see our channel. Also, at FFChamps, our draft kit went live on Monday, and we've actually extended our promo codes to get in. If you haven't gotten in yet, if you want to sign up now, now's the time to do it before the promo codes run out, which I think is this weekend, maybe Monday. I'm not exactly sure. But right now you can get $40 off a premium membership using promo code 2019. And then you could also get $20 off a basic membership using promo code DRAFT. But the premium membership, I got to tell you, if you take a premium membership, you have a chance to win a seat at next year's Fantasy Football World Championship Draft in Vegas. So definitely a better option for you. now's the time to go out and do it. Go get in there. We got a lot of great stuff coming up that's not in there yet, but we got a lot of great tools to deal with. So come on out and check them all out. Our mock draft tool, of course, our draft tracker, our customizable cheat sheets, our free survivor pool, all this stuff is really great. And if you sign up for a premium membership, you also get access to our sister site, the gppmaster.com, for all your DFS needs. So come on over to FFChamps and give us a look and a listen. We got a lot of things going on. For everybody listening to this podcast, wherever you are, please give us a comment, give us a thumbs up, give us a rating, whatever you could do to help us. We're a new podcast we need to build. So anything you could do to help that, we'd love. If you're on YouTube now, give us a like, subscribe to the channel. We'd love that. Anything you could do that way to help us, we absolutely would enjoy it. We need it to keep continuing to grow. So thank you for all of that, folks. It'd be Friday night. It'd be Fantasy Football Champs After Dark, a proud member of the Full Time Fantasy Podcast Network, and we be out. Good night, all.